Yo, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Doobies and movies. The whole
You,
world is watching.
they all
Man,
watching, boy.
wow, the whole world is watching. What did we think of that episode? Well, I'll tell you, I thought it was the best.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it definitely was the fucking bomb. It was the bomb, and it was one of the most graphic of all the MCU movies, or anything that ever been put on Disney. So I was actually quite shocked at the graphic, how graphic it was.
yeah, they did well. Yeah, that was the best episode yet, easily. Debatably the best episode of any MCU show, maybe with the second last episode of Wanda. But that was really
It was intense.
yeah, it was intense from the beginning to the end, and they built it up well. We
Yeah,
basically
man.
had a good episode of all of these different ideologies and all of these different people, and kind of first you got to kind of hear their perspectives, and you kind of got to see things in motion. And I thought
Yeah,
that was quite interesting from everyone.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, from even from Zemo to Carly to
yeah,
Walker to everybody, you got to see their perspectives of what they think of the situation.
yeah, and I think they did that. They did that well from the start. But let's break down the episode from the beginning. So it starts with an
Wakanda,
incredible scene. Yeah, an incredible scene
back
in
in Wakanda,
Wakanda.
first time. It's the first time since Infinity War Endgame. Infinity War.
Infinity War, and but it was set before Infinity War, obviously, and it was
Yeah,
Io kind of like the last part, I suppose, of his healing process.
his,
That
yeah, of his rehabilitation.
yeah, and it shows that Io not only was part of the Dora Milaje, but they actually had a close relationship because she was one of the people with Shuri that were helping him get
Worked with
cured.
him and helping him to get his mind back, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
think I think this obviously they flash back to 6 years ago, but that would make it about maybe average about 6 months before Thanos' forces invaded Wakanda.
Yeah, which
So
kind of makes sense.
yeah, so basically the way how Bucky is all like frustrated and seems tired throughout the whole thing, it seems like he hasn't really had much time to get a break or had any rest from him actually recovering and getting his mind back or whatnot. He was just been thrown in from one fight to the next his whole life.
Mm. No, I agree, and it was a really powerful scene. As Sebastian Stan acted really, really well as he breaks down crying, remembering all of the people he killed, and hearing those words, and they having no effect on him
And
anymore. And
you realize for each one of the words there was some sort of like he remembered something from each word. Each word had like a kind of, I don't know if it was intentional that way they did it or whatnot, but like freight car was like the scene with him on the with when he fell off the freight car. And
mm,
I heard something about if the Marvel writers chose those words specifically to mean anything, and they said no, that they just thought it sounded kind of like really conniving and evil when saying it in Russian. So it didn't really
yeah.
have any significance. But I loved how they did that flashbacks and kind of put the significance with the words in it.
Mm. No, it was like one of the best scenes of the series so far, and it was really powerful emotionally, and it was important. We had speculated before whether we'd see any of Bucky's process in Wakanda, and even if that's all we see from it, again, it's more of these developments and what happened between Civil War and Infinity War that I'm always kind of looking to see more of that space of time. Um, but yeah, we go to obviously the present timeline where AO tells Bucky
He's a
that
he's
he's
a
got
bastard.
that
He needs to hand him over.
she gives them 8 hours to begin with,
Yeah.
and we then
Um,
get basically them looking for Carly throughout this kind of day.
yeah.
There's a bit where Zemo gives the kids Turkish delight like the witch in Narnia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he also says that like his son liked them as well, which is a throwback to obviously Civil War, where his mentioned his son dying in the battle in Sokovia.
Yeah.
So it was a reminder of that too.
When Bucky was telling her that telling Io that he's just a means to an end. He was just kind of like going back and referring to Zemo's Machiavellian views where the ends justify the means and
Yeah, and that's a
loyalty.
theme throughout the episode as well.
Yeah, and
For
loyalty.
Carly as well.
Yeah, and the loyalty to tactical allies isn't permanent kind of thing now.
Yeah, I think they yeah, they handled obviously this whole episode and build up well. There's a lot of good discussions between the three of them about supremacy and Zemo's thoughts on how super soldiers and superheroes by default are a build up to supremacy, and no matter where you start in your views, you're always going to get corrupted by the power. And then there's a moment where they mention how Steve Rogers never got corrupted, and Zemo said he was the only one. And there's a moment where they're both quiet because obviously if they were to mention Isaiah to Zemo, Zemo would kill Isaiah. So there's a really nice subtle touch where they both kind of like, yeah, Steve Rogers was the only one who had,
it's true because I didn't actually catch that, you know.
Yeah.
They kind of looked at each other for real, like, yeah, if he only knew that there was another one, that he would probably wanted to have killed him as well.
Exactly. So as much as they're trusting Zemo in this, they still know there's only so much they're going to tell him. And there's a funny moment where he said, "Oh, you're talking about our friends," and he said, "Not the Nazis, the Avengers."
Not the Nazis, yeah. But I think Zemo does. He has to have some sort of knowledge about Isaiah if he knows that.
Yeah, it's true.
After talking to the scientists, and they're saying that how they got the blood from Isaiah, basically.
No, that's true. That's true. Maybe he hasn't put together. I don't know that Isaiah's still around or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, but no, these conversations are important in terms of trying to assess the situation in terms of building up for what happens with Carly, because Sam, he's what kind of works with his feelings kind of towards taking the shield and how the government have treated him, not only in this series but back in Civil War as well. They go on the run and all of this stuff. So how Sam feels, he really actually does see a parallel with what Carly does. And I think also because he, similarly to Steve, is a kind of optimist and idealist in people. I mean, Steve has that letter to Tony at the end of Civil War where he says his faith's always in people. And I think that's a similar quality that Falcon has, which is why he tries to always see it from Carly's perspective. And when he eventually talks to her, I found their conversation was really good in terms of, like, it was really well scripted in terms of how he brings out that old counselor in him and he really tries to talk to her. And it made me think, like, she is a young person. Like, what if he had come maybe a couple years earlier, whenever, at another point, if he was around earlier in her life, he could have actually provided that
mentorship.
That maybe she wouldn't have gone on the wrong path. But at this point, she is too far gone. And I think that's what Zemo was saying. Like, Zemo's not even disagreeing with the fact that Carly may have had somewhat good intentions.
Good intentions or whatnot. Yeah.
You're going to get corrupted by this kind of, because it is by default, it's supremacy. And it's an interesting idea, to be honest. And I like how they're playing it. And obviously with Carly ending up killing people, she killed people in the episode before.
Killing Hoskins.
I mean, fuck me, we'll get to that. So, in terms of the John Walker of it all, obviously they just show up having found them in Latvia, and John Walker's pretty much being a dick the whole time, and he ruins everything. He's not
a stable mind for the entire thing that we've been seeing. That there's these moments when I like rewatch different scenes or whatnot. Like, he's actually like in his acting, he's like mumbling to himself and twitching a lot, and like he almost like schizo. He has some kind of PTSD from past traumas of war.
And that's why I really like the performance, both episode 2 and this episode, which I think were probably the 2 best episodes overall.
Yeah, definitely.
I think his performance is so good because he makes him the right amount of hateable, but he also adds that human touch of doubt, of struggle, of ego that makes him still relatable. Even though you really don't like the guy, he plays him with a real, like throughout the episode, what I like is, and I think throughout the whole show, he really wants recognition and respect from Falcon and Bucky, doesn't get it. Then when the Dora Milaje arrive, he wants it from them, doesn't get it. There's this large trend of him really being like,
he trying too hard, basically. He's trying too hard. And he basically not getting anywhere, and it started to fuck with his head and his mentality, and he just need to get somewhere and get some results. And basically he going off the rails, and no matter, he just wants the job done, no matter how he does it.
And when you get to the point where he steals the serum, I really thought he was just going to take it. But I loved the chat that they have, him and Hoskins, is so important for me because it made, again, humanized him again. He actually had the doubt about taking it. And his friend, who Hoskins I actually quite liked throughout the show. He was almost John's moral conscience to a degree.
I'm not really sure he had the doubt of taking the serum. You know, I think for the entire series so far, from my perspective, I think he just wants the serum. That's what I got from it, especially when he started looking at Bucky and like almost envious and saying, all that serum in your veins, if it wasn't for that serum in your veins.
Sure, but he still then has that conversation where he mentions how the medals of honor were actually something that what they did in Afghanistan wasn't pleasant. Like he started showing these signs of PTSD, and he started showing these signs of like he needed the reassurance from Hoskins there that he should take the serum. It wasn't as easy as because he goes like, what about me? Do you think I would? And Hoskins, like, he's obviously wrong in this instance, but you can understand from his perspective how he sees his best friend. And I think that throughout the show, he's always the one. Even in this episode, he was telling like maybe Sam can talk to her. Like he would kind of nudge John into being the better thing.
Like trying to be on Sam's side and see like he could see their perspective and be like, well, where they coming from not so bad and might be even better than this path that you're trying to take.
And I think that's made it more interesting, basically, that it's not just these two dickheads that have come in. As much as John Walker is a dickhead, it's more subtle than that. And Hoskins was actually a good guy with good intentions that just kind of wanted to get on this superhero hype. And I think that it just has made it so much more interesting, and it adds so much to the conflict. And obviously when Hoskins does die, you feel it. Like, as much as you don't like John, you feel how angry he is. You feel how hurt he is, and you feel what I really liked about it was similar to like Civil War, where in Lagos when the people die and everyone's suddenly like, shit, this went too far. They had the same face when Carly. Every single person, the Flag Smashers as well. Everyone had the face. This went too far when Hoskins died.
Yeah. Like, well, not only that, the Chinese boy who was with Carly said she took it too far when she blew up the place in the previous episode, and he was saying there was still people in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even he knew at that moment that they were kind of taking it a bit too far. And then they had Nico, who was in this episode as well.
Yeah, and he earlier in the episode had that speech about how he loved Captain America, and
the graveyard apparently where Carly hid the serum was on Nico's granddad's grave, who apparently served with Allied forces then, so he would have been a huge Cap fan growing up.
Yeah,
and his granddad would have probably made a battle or did an assault or something with
And he's the one that's killed by John Walker. So that parallel
ironically, he was killed by Cap's shield, who he idolized as a kid.
I think that adds a lot of tragedy to it, and it also gave this idea as well to build up Carly that in that community, I guess she was the one that kind of inspired these people to kind of come together. And I like that they mentioned with this kind of Donya character that she was kind of a mum to a lot of these people, and because what that does is it adds a family feeling to the Flag Smashers, which is why you understand why they have this community, why they have this loyalty, because they almost grew up together, all of this kind of young, because they're all quite young adults. So I feel like they all kind of grew up together in this community, and it does add a lot to what they're trying to kind of represent, I suppose. And again, like you said, it's got all these great perspectives. I mean, you have all these great scenes as well. Stuff we talked about, obviously Zemo escaping twice. Once he then destroys nearly all of the serums and shoots Carly. Another time he escapes through the tunnel, and they reference El Chapo, who escaped through tunnels. So
that was brilliant.
And I thought it was so good. Obviously, how Zemo keeps kind of playing and like even using the location of the funeral for leverage just to keep himself out of prison and alive, anything that he can while still.
He bartering with his freedom and his life at the same time trying to accomplish his mission.
Exactly. I think he's both him. I mean, obviously the main two have been great, and all around the cast is great. But both him and Wyatt Russell, who's obviously the newcomer.
Yeah,
they've both been so good, and I feel like Daniel Bruhl almost has that Paul Bettany effect, but in a villain way. The way he's like long speeches sound really good with his voice, like Paul Bettany has that with Vision, where he can say anything. Like when he says one of those profound things, it just sounds so good. I feel like Daniel Bruhl when he's like on the plane or he's like, you know, making breakfast and he has some speech and it's just like, it sounds really good coming out of his mouth. And they've cast a really good actor.
Especially when he quoted Machiavelli and works like that.
And it works that he is a baron in that sense because he would have been brought up on this, like, on these books and this philosophy and this literature and all of this stuff that makes him kind of talk with a kind of sophisticated manner as well. And
it's like Dr. Doom as well. Dr. Doom is also one of a high sophisticated lifestyle and would have been grown up from like his descendants was from blood Dracula. So
I mean, I from what I last heard, the rumors for Ethan Hawke's role in Moon Knight is Dracula. I mean, if they do that, that is incredible. But I mean, that's another thing to talk about on another day. But shit.
But
what else have we talked about?
Well, they have Sharon. Sharon definitely working for the power broker. We've seen a couple scenes where after she made certain phone calls or whatnot, I don't know, it looked like she was kind of like had been in a scuffle. Her lip was bleeding, and she had like, I don't know if it was from the fight in the previous episode or the power broker actually got to her and started.
We might get some Sharon perspective stuff next episode where we see what she's been up to in this time and we see maybe some stuff from Sharon's perspective.
Things in Madripoor has gotten really hot and when she looked like she had like bruises on her face and I don't know if the power broker was after her now. And because of the serum and having getting the fucking doctor who created it killed or whatnot, so she must be under some pressure from him or something. And on top of that, she's not no small player in Madripoor because especially with all the artwork and stuff I was looking up online, I saw something saying she definitely something big in Madripoor and that probably has something to do with the power broker because definitely all the artwork that she have collected in her place or whatnot in real life that would be worth over £500 million kind of thing. So she have to be a high roller or something in some kind of like either working undercover or trying to figure out things or who knows.
No, I agree. There's definitely, I do think a profound effect that Sharon's gonna end up having on the series. What the role is exactly, we don't know. And I guess I guess it is something to do with the power broker of some sort, obviously, because she's in a high position there. But I don't want to guess too much.
Estimate, no.
Yeah. But with the last shot, I just wanted to mention of the blood on the shield. That was very powerful and very well done. Another comic book like shot, and
it definitely was a comic book and then shot.
And you've got to feel that, you know, the people filming it on the street. You've got to feel that parallel of obviously people being killed by police and stuff like that.
They've been filming him from the moment he showed up. In the first moment he showed up in the episode, people started pulling out their phones and filming him. So that I guess that was the whole thing of the episode. The world is watching you, and is basically they're watching every move that the new Captain America makes or whatnot.
Yeah,
and it was so funny how he made that mistake of fucking up by trying to touch Io and get his ass handed to him. Is what drove him to take the serum on top of the fact that Carly killed Hoskins.
And sorry. And we didn't touch on that fight with the Dora Milaje. They played that with some humor, but again tried to show you the kind of power Dora Milaje had.
That was a wicked fucking fight.
And we saw obviously the fact that their weapons can break vibranium, that Io knows how to take off Bucky's arm. All of this stuff, obviously, just some power flexing from Wakanda again. It's good to get them involved. Obviously, it kind of now seemed like it wouldn't have made any sense for Zemo to have left prison and Wakanda not to have done anything about it. So
he got away by the skin of his teeth.
But I mean, you never know what's gonna happen. I mean, it'd be interesting now. Again, I liked Io calling Bucky White Wolf again and keeping that alive. I wonder if Bucky ends up going back to Wakanda at any point.
I don't know.
But there's also Carly threatens
Sam,
Falcon's sister, and the nephews, which is a moment to show that she is prepared to be the villain, as much as she's being framed in a lot of it like she's not actually that bad. That's just they're just trying to show the.
She will do what she have to do to get her ends. Again, the ends justify. I mean, the means justify the ends, or whatever you say.
Again, that's been the theme in this episode, and Sam obviously believing that none of that does, and Sam believing that obviously Zemo should be in jail. These people will probably believe that they should be in jail too. I mean, it leads.
He was getting through to her, though. He was getting through to her.
This is the thing. That's why I like that conversation. I like that conversation because it felt quite real what they were saying to each other, and obviously John came in and ruined it. I think that it's left us in a really interesting position because the most powerful villain now is actually John Walker. I guess Carly's also still a threat. She hasn't stopped being a threat, but
she's not really a villain. Whereas he is totally on edge and totally gonna that. Well, it's funny enough though. You see how I don't know. You remember how when Steve took the serum and how skinny he was and how big he got. Yeah. There was no dramatic change in him. I don't know if it's because he drank the serum instead of doing it, ingesting it the way that they did it to Steve.
No, because they mentioned that Dr. Nagel found a way of making it very subtle, like it has no physical.
No big laboratory experiment to do it or something like that.
And no physical differences. You just drink it and I think they're trying to hint that it might even be slightly strong, like more powerful than the original one, because Carly shown to kind of be quite quick and powerful even compared to Bucky. But I don't know,
it's true. Well, on top of that, it's kind of sad that in the MCU, it was the death of Hoskins that drove fucking Walker to take the serum, whereas in the comics, it was his parents. And we're not going to actually see a MCU version of Battlestar. So I actually thought that they were actually going to get the serum somehow from the power broker. And
I think that's what they wanted you to think, I guess. And there's always different ways that they're going to take different characters. And I also think that there's also a certain element of they have to still have this element of surprise, and we do need to still feel the threat. And
I totally love that about the MCU, because being a comic geek, you don't want to actually know what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
I love how they take the characters and do their own different twists and stories to it.
I think it also means you feel the threat in terms of like anyone could die, not just because they've got like Battlestar. You could have had him do more, like because he does a few things in the comics, but
he's not really a big.
Yeah, he's someone that you can kill. I mean, people probably weren't expecting him to be done in the first place, and you can kill him off. And again, what works for the story? I think a story like this, if people didn't die in it, I was even thinking after with these TV shows, like they're gonna have to still be willing to kill characters, because we're gonna have to feel the weight of things, and they can't keep not. And then you got to look at, I guess, situation by situation. I think that it worked so perfectly for the episode, and I don't know.
It was cool how they brought back some of the music from Civil War and stuff in it.
Yeah,
was,
yeah, they always bring that Winter Soldier theme back, which I really
yeah,
like. And
yeah, his
no,
theme song. The,
I
the, the panther growls when they were attacking, when they were fighting Walker. Every time they swung the spear, you would hear like a little panther growl.
yeah, no, it's all amazing. I really think I really think that they did an amazing job with that episode, and obviously like the death of Battlestar was just the perfect timing and tipping point. And also, I don't know how much more he could have really given anyway. Like he was he was that final thing, I think, for John Walker that had to lose to tip him over the edge, and the way they played it was perfect. So like, rest in peace, Battlestar. Big up Clay Bennett. You did a good job as Battlestar
Yeah,
for these few episodes, and your death was a big MCU moment. So yeah,
but
and
yeah, that ending scene though, it was like quite shocking for me. Like it almost resembled that scene when Captain America was disarming Iron Man Tony and with the same shield attack.
yeah, but in the end, he just disarms
Yeah, he
Iron
just
Man.
went. Yeah, he just disarmed them with one hit. But Walker went a little bit overboard. I don't know if he actually decapitated the guy or he went in his chest or what. But at the end of it, that finishing shot was amazing with the blood. I wasn't expecting to see the blood and thing there, man. I was like, fucking hell, Disney boy, they're actually going a little bit
Yeah,
R-rated.
it was really something, and it
And
was
he
yeah,
was
like
totally twitching and shit at the end though. He was like totally like his hand was twitching, his fucking neck was twitching, everything like.
and it was powerful that like we said before, he was the one that loved Captain America as a kid. So again, like they're saying that these weren't deaths for the sake of deaths. They were very powerful and emotionally resonant deaths, and they're important for the story they're telling. And it also then now means that two people have actually died in these conflicts. Like obviously people, their flag smashers had killed a few people before, but these like people that were direct kind of main, or not main characters, but people that were more in this particular conflict.
Yeah.
And then it now means that you know, anything can happen now. Like and they want to they have to open that, because I think Endgame opened that, and I do think we need to be at this point where obviously find the right balance. Don't kill off characters before you've taken them all the places they can go.
Don't,
But
yeah. Don't do
characters
like
do. Yeah,
it.
characters do have to die, and like I said, anyway, they did it well.
But what do you think is gonna happen next? What's the future of fucking Walker? He's gonna be in a lot of shit now.
Yeah, I
What do you
mean,
think he's gonna do? Turn villain or
I think he's
what
eventually gonna become U.S. agent. Like in the comics, I just think the way they're gonna take him there is gonna be a little bit different. He might become the antagonist for this series, but I think they keep him alive, and I think by the end of it, he almost tries to find his own way of becoming maybe that bit more of an anti-hero.
yeah, you think he might get a little bit under control and find a way to
I wouldn't be surprised
sort his head out.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had him actually. He gets put in some kind of
Like rehabilitation or
yeah,
bless you.
like some sort of therapy and rehab, and kind of comes out. Obviously, he has the serum, so
Yeah.
I do think that they will go the U.S. agent route eventually, and in like not having be a total hero, but I do think we're gonna get a lot more of these anti-heroes and
Kind of like
stuff.
a Suicide Squad scene. Bring him in when he needed.
Yeah, he could be quite Suicide Squad-esque, but
Yeah.
they've cast him brilliantly, and he's obviously there. Yeah, they've done really well with him as a character so far. The build up now he's got the serum that he takes in the comics. So they're obviously, I do think, trying to, and I do think even when they do these different takes, that characters do end up hitting a lot of the same beats. So I do think that John Walker does end up becoming U.S. agent.
Yeah. All right. You know, Hopefully he goes with the US agent. Hopefully they go the US agent way instead of like a villain or make him into Hydra Cap or something like that.
You and Hydra Cat. No, I think in this particular series he will be an antagonist, but like they've already played him as being quite three-dimensional, and I think now these TV shows allow us to spend more time with things. I do think they can actually have shown him go through some process of rehabilitation, become a little bit less crazy, but still maybe a bit of a more
Unhinged.
more of a military punisher, I guess. Someone that's still willing to kill, someone who still shoots people, but he thinks he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they've cast him well, they've done him well. I'd like to see more from him, but again, like they're doing now, they have to always pick the right characters for the right projects. Everyone they've picked for this has been perfect. How they've built out of Civil War and all these plot threads from Civil War and made it all cohesive, like even to the level of Zemo in Civil War having one of his things that he did being killing all the remaining Winter Soldiers, and that being so directly connected.
I hope we see some more of him. I hope he isn't gone for the rest of the series.
No, of course not. Zemo's got big things to say, man. This was Zemo's series, who I also think is gonna go the anti-hero route a little bit, but a bit more villainous.
We get introduced to the anti-heroes of MCU.
Yeah, I think so. I think the TV shows allow us to see that kind of development. And I think for a while, Kevin Feige has wanted to kind of start more characters at the beginning, like I was saying with Baron Mordo, and show more people at the beginning, and then get to
he wanted to do a bit more of the R-rated stuff as well, like coming into like the vampires with Blade and stuff like that, and the more mythical dark side of things.
I can't wait to see all of that. I mean, I feel WandaVision was like a little tease of all the supernatural stuff that we had coming, but Falcon Winter Soldier was always going to be grounded, but they have hinted, even very subtly, at stuff like X-Men and Doctor Doom, obviously with Madripoor, and talking about.
Yeah, you saw the Madripoor website that they put up with like little hints of like they had some names apparently up there with like Mystique and different names, but they quickly took them down after a while or something.
That's sick.
Yeah.
No, but I do think that we're just at the beginning of Phase 4. We're just at the start of this really big ride, but all of these individual projects are really good at the moment. It's going to be brutal. The 6 weeks between this and finishing and Loki starting is going to be hard. But
yeah, it is going to be hard. We're not getting Black Widow in between that, no?
No, Black Widow will be out during Loki's run, I think.
Yeah.
Which would be sick, to be fair.
That would be sick, yeah. That would be sick.
After all that waiting and delaying, the fact that we are like just over 1.5 projects into Phase 4 is still pretty crazy. And we've seen some crazy shit already, but it's just really the tip of the iceberg, it seems. But yeah, that last episode, 10 out of 10 for me. It was the equal best episode with, or maybe not quite as good as Wanda episode 8, but Wanda episode 8 is still my favorite episode of the two. But this was best episode of Falcon yet, a little bit better than episode 2 of Falcon. This was really, really good. My moment of the episode would be, I don't know, the whole fucking thing. The scene at the beginning on some level when Wakanda's, it would be up there.
Yeah.
Obviously the powerful ending, but moreover just the themes and the way the themes played out, and the actual development of Marvel politics in this series has gone to another level. Like, they're really talking about political issues, but they are quite exclusive to a universe that they live in. Yeah, it's getting really more interesting since Civil War and stuff. They've really been creating this ideological conflict within the Marvel universe that's been really interesting to follow. But what about you, the moments?
Yeah, man, well, for the episode, definitely a 10 out of 10. Moment of the episode would have to be that opening scene in Wakanda where Bucky's getting over his mind control and getting his rehabilitation from Ayo. and getting all those flashbacks and whatnot, that definitely is the moment of the episode for me, and obviously the ending scene with the shield and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, Hoskins' death was also really brutal, and yeah, he didn't deserve that. But
No, he didn't deserve that. I was hoping he wasn't dead, or maybe somehow he would actually, I don't know, maybe Walker might add a little extra juice and try to bring him back from the dead with it.
no, I do think they're trying to show you this kind of grounded consequence to things, to be honest, and also they want to show you how like legitimately the power of the serum, and also trying to put in perspective how well Steve was able to use and control his powers, because
Well,
he could punch people. Like Carly just does one punch and is like into a bad. Obviously, that was also how he lands, but it's also the hit of the punch, and she punches him in the chest. So it's almost like she stops his heart on some level with how strong she punches. So it shows how much Steve would have pulled his punches, basically.
Yeah, true. It's true. But then again, on an earlier note when he was mentioning about when about there was nobody else, like there's no one else like Steve. There would never be another Steve. Remember when old man Cap came and gave Sam the shield? I think because Sam spent a lot of time with Steve, Steve knew that he had the same virtues and morals as him, and he could be the next Cap.
Yeah.
And that is the only reason he passed the shield on to him. He would not have passed the shield on to anybody else so lightly. You know?
I agree, and I think they're consistently showing that in this episode a lot, how Sam comes from the same cloth as Steve.
Yeah,
and I think,
and he didn't even need the super soldier serum to take on the fucking the flag smashers. He kicked ass when he was with his fucking wings doing his kicks and fucking flag kicks and all that. He kicked ass.
Falcon's sick,
Sam's a kick-ass soldier.
Yeah,
and he deserves that shield.
Yeah, I agree. I want him to be Cap. He's my Cap. He's the only person I thought could do what Steve did. We need leaders, as both these shows are showing. We need the Avengers back, because the world is turning to chaos.
And it goes to show he was better than Walker all around, because he held his own against Ayo and her mate. Walker got his ass kicked. Bucky, on the other hand, he held his own as well. Also, he could be an ex-Cap too. He could be an ex-candidate for Cap as well, because even though his mind was fucked up in the end all that time, he actually have his mind now or whatnot. He have the same morals as Steve or whatnot, and also he could speak so many other languages compared to fucking Walker. Walker couldn't even speak and translate from when he was interrogating that guy in the previous episode. So, he's a much better candidate anyway. He's an all-rounder. He can communicate with anybody around the world, even the Wakanda, speak Wakandan. That's another.
No, you're right. I do think that Bucky's path is the more interesting one they can determine. I would like to see him going back to Wakanda, being White Wolf or something.
Yeah. Getting the outfit from the comics of White Wolf too. That'd be sick.
Yeah, man, it would all be sick. Everything they do.
I also was reading up, and I heard some stuff about like maybe some of the stuff from the first super soldier serum had they got that from that plant from Wakanda, which Black Panther, which T'Challa took. The fruit that they took to get the enhanced powers or whatnot to become the Black Panther. I think some of the ingredients in the serum derive from that one plant.
The heart-shaped herb.
Yeah, the heart-shaped herb.
Yeah.
You smoke some of that, boy.
Yeah, I wish we could put that in a Doobies and movies.
And?
But yeah, fuck me. Let's round it off. Keep smoking Doobies. Keep watching movies. This is the sickest show, and we're gonna keep going 2 more weeks of it.
Yeah, boy.
Then the making of the week after, but yeah. Sick.
Yeah.